Todd from Woodturning Tool Store again. So the next thing I want to talk about was product announcement. So what I've found through years of using the Elio drive and stuff, and others that have used it, there's always been a thing in the back of my mind that could have made this just a little bit better. It's a great product, and now I think I've made it even better. So what I've done is I'm introducing the Elio-DR. The DR is for Drawbar Ready. So what I've done is I've taken an Elio drive, I've taken all three sizes, and I've found a method to drill, tap, and create put in a threaded insert into the Morse taper end of the Elio drive. So if I'll hold this up to the camera, and boy, if this was 3D you might be freaking out right now, but I don't think it is. So you can see in there's a threaded insert, and so what I've done is found a methodology to make that work. That threaded insert is threaded internally 1/4 by 20, which for me is kind of my standard in the shop for all my jigs and fixtures. So hopefully, there's a lot of turners out there that use the same standard. A lot of woodworkers probably as well. So that's what I chose, and this Drawbar Ready will Elio-DR will be available on the web store. By the time this video is up, I'm sure. So along with the Elio-DR, I obviously with the Drawbar Ready, you need a drawbar. So I've put together a kit of parts to create a drawbar. And for those that maybe don't know, drawbar is really kind of what the word says. It's a bar that draws something together. So having this into the headstock, this through the headstock, you screw this on, it draws the Morse taper into the spindle and locks it there so it won't drift out. As you know, if you use this as a faceplate, and without the using the screw holes, and use it as a faceplate for a chunk of wood on here, you need to have the tailstock set up to support that product, so that it's in between two centers. With the drawbar, the drawbar makes it a safer operation to use without a tailstock. So there's still use your own safety conscious wood turning techniques to make sure you feel comfortable using a drawbar and using it in this method. I like it. I personally use it. I've used drawbars on many things before, on drilling quills, Jacob's chucks, drilling quills and stuff on the tailstock and on the headstock side. So drawbars are a great thing, and this one is, like I said, it's a 1/4 by 20 threaded rod, and I've covered it in a plastic tubing. Plastic tubing is LLDPE, which is linear low density polyethylene. It's a pretty high strength plastic tubing. It's good for minus 103 up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, so it should survive any shop environment. I know before I got the AC unit, it would get frickin' hot in here, and probably up to 100, 105 at some times. And then in the wintertime, it does get a freezing. I'm in Texas, so it does freeze every once in a while. But I know for you, I grew up in Canada, so I know about cold weather and cold shops. So having this out of a material that won't crack or break or become brittle in cold temperature, I think is important. So the other reason for it is to protect the inside of the spindle. So you don't want, at least I don't want, my spindle bore to be marked up, chewed up by anything spinning inside. The other part of the kit is a little cone. This centers the drawbar in the headstock spindle, and then a couple of wing knobs. So they're individual wing knobs. I put 2 on there so you can lock together so that you're able to you know, spin this into the Elio-DR drive. So it goes together just like that, and we'll go into the lathe, and then that keeps the spindle or the Morse taper drive center from drifting out. So that's my solution. That's my product enhancement, Elio-DR drawbar kit. So these both will be up on the website by the time this video is up there. So take a look. All the information on them will be up there as well. This video should be up there. And what I'll do now is we'll take a look at how we install this. Okay, here we are over at the headstock. We've got a view of the headstock. I'm out of the frame, but I wanted you guys to see what's going on here. So here's the spindle thread. Here's the hand wheel side. This is a Powermatic 3520B, so I've got a bore through here that's a little bigger than ½ inch, probably 5/8 or thereabouts. The polyethylene tubing on the outside of the drawbar is a ½ inch diameter. Not all lathes will have the same bore size. I know my Jet Mini over there wouldn't be able to take this tubing, so for the Jet Mini I would take this tubing off and just use the threaded rod, or find a skinnier tubing, which I don't think my Jet would fit anything that I could find. So and that's what I've done before. Also, the lengths of the headstock spindles are going to be different. This kit is offered in an 18-inch bar length with about a 15-inch tubing length on the 2 knobs and the cone. So that'll be the kit. What you'll have to do is trim down the length of the bar and the tubing to the needs of your lathe. What we don't want is, just take that out for a second. We don't want much of this bar exposed out on the end of it. So I don't want to see, from a safety perspective, you know, if I'd screwed that in, if I had this much bar sticking out at the end, that to me would be a safety hazard, because that would mean that they could whip around. It's in the way to catch on clothing. So the way I've sized mine here is to leave about a 1/4 inch or ½ inch of thread on the knob side, and probably about a ½ inch on that side. So what that allows is for that to seat all the way through, and only to have a very short stubby mount sticking out past the knobs. So that's not going to whip around. It's not going to create a great hazard. And it leaves enough room in here to catch the drive center. So I'm going to just use the small one to demonstrate. So you've got the drawbar in there. It's approximately the right length. You'd stick your Morse taper Elio-DR in there and just spin it up. The nice thing about the ½ inch tubing on at least on my spindle, is that it centers the threaded rod, so it's very easy to find where that thread's in. It just kind of fits right in the right spot to capture it. The cone here centers the rod on the handle side, and that's important to stop any whipping action inside the spindle. I've used drawbars without a cone, and you lock them down kind of off center, and they kind of just are whipping around in a eccentric manner. So I like the cone on there. It helps me. When you tighten this down, you don't need to tighten it down that much. You can back off. The reason for the 2 screws, 2 hand screws, is to be able to lock them together so that when you're inserting, you're tightening the rod with the outer thumb screw. I don't know, am I blocking that? I'm blocking that. Jesus, look at that. Okay, you tighten with the outer screw, and you just thumb tight. I don't need to crank on it. You don't need to crank very hard on it. We're not, it's not like a spindle thread where we're trying to lock it down tight. All we're doing is sucking the Morse taper in so it seats well and won't come out. We're not really trying to suck it down really hard because it should seat just fine without doing much to it. So just finger tight. When you want to undo it, use the inner knob and just give it a twist. And what that does is locks against the outer knob, so now the rod is turning and it's unscrewing the rod. So that's the reason for the two knobs. You can back it off a little bit and get more thread engaged in the drive center. So however much that looked like about 5 turns, that should be plenty to hold the Elio-DR on there. That's it. It's installed. It's quick, it's easy, and it's safe. So when we turn the lathe on, you know, I don't hear any rattling inside. My bearings are a little off. When we get to that speed, you know, knobs are turning, this is turning fine. Crank it up to 3200 or whatever you want. It's operating fine. It's not going to drift out. There's nothing that's going to allow that Elio-DR to drift out and fall out. So that's how you install it. To take it out, you don't want to really use this as a knockout bar because you'll damage the thread. So you take your drawbar out, and then you might be able to just loosen it by hand, pull it out, or use your normal knockout bar. The other thing about the having the threaded insert in here is it actually makes it more of a bearing surface for knockout bars. I know there's been a few knockout bars where without the threaded insert, the knockout bar actually goes inside the bore of the Elio drive. So anyway, another advantage, you shouldn't have an issue with any knockout bar knocking this thing out now. So it's not really most cases, but I know there's a few people out there that have skinny knockout bars that just wouldn't quite hit the surface to knock it out. So that's it. That's the Elio-DR and the drawbar kit. So like I said, these will be available in all 3 sizes. Oops, we lost focus. There we go. All 3 sizes, 3.5, the 2, and the 2.5. So they're available on the web store. The drawbar kit. Yeah, that really lost focus, but there we go. Zoom in. There we go. The kit will be. Sorry, this videotaping thing is kind of new to me, so bear with me. This will be on the website as well as a kit form, like I said, in a longer length. You can cut it to length in your shop. I'm thinking about trying, offering a custom length based on what you guys, on a per customer order. So if you're, I don't know how to set that up yet, but I think I can. Let me know what you think. If you would like to have custom sized rods and tubing sent. There'd probably be a slightly extra charge for making the custom length, but wouldn't be that substantial, I wouldn't think. So that's something I got to think about, but a feedback from you guys would help. So let me know what you think, and well, that's it. Happy turning, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.